Haruto is lying in his room as he tries to figure out why the dad seems so busy recently. However, he's not too fussed as it means no sword lessons for him. His thoughts are disrupted when some of the housemaids can be heard frantically moving after being ordered to gather all the bandages and antiseptic available in the house. He wonders what all the commotion is about and checks using a CCTV level application of his barrier magic. The compound is full of his father's soldiers sitting and lying on the floor injured as the maids try to heal as many as possible. Haruto walks over to his father who sits on some boxes with a dismal look on his face. He tentatively asks what happened. Gold starts by confessing that he kept secret the recent rash of attacks by thieves in their province. They received intelligence about the criminals' base, so they proceeded to go deal with them but were met with an ambush from behind. Gold states that they were careful in their planning and made all the necessary preparations to destroy them, but they rather took the L. He holds his head in humiliation as his men wince in pain. Gold acknowledges that it must be a grisly sight for someone of Haruto's age to witness, so he informs his son not to feel obliged to stay. Haruto says nothing but clenches his fist in anger before quietly walking away. He tells Flay to shut up when he overhears her making statements on how pathetic the soldiers are to get defeated by a band of thieves. She quickly keeps quiet when she senses his aura and follows him as he heals everyone while walking back to his room. The screams of pain turn to cheers of relief as his father watches amazed. Night falls and Haruto is fast asleep while Flay quietly stands outside. He wakes up and asks if she's been standing there that whole time, but he gets no response from her. He remembers that he ordered her to shut her dirty mouth. He apologizes for losing his temper and revokes it. She also apologizes for offending her master. The two then make their way to the top of the castle where he begins to survey the area looking for the people that attacked his father. After a brief search, he finds them at an abandoned fort and some of them look like normal soldiers. There seems to be a possibility that the enemy knew of Gold's attack, which only means they have a spy within their midst. Haruto has decided that they will wipe out every last one of them, so he sets off with Flay as they fly through the night sky. Unbeknownst to them, his little sister watches from her room window. Meanwhile, at the fort, the men celebrate their victory, and the leaders of this whole operation sit inside as they discuss how satisfying it was to see Gold flustered when they attacked. It just makes their happy juice taste all the happier. One of them points out that it is a little too early for them to be celebrating because they didn't finish Gold once and for all, but they look forward to doing that so that they can return to their homeland. Haruto interrupts after hearing everything. He uses his barrier magic to halt them in place and blows one of them back when he tries to get rowdy. He coldly tells them to answer his questions and warns them that lying to him will yield a devastating consequence. A short interrogation reveals that they are soldiers from a neighboring empire who have infiltrated the kingdom disguised as thieves. Their goal is to cause internal mayhem. Flay points out that there should be troops guarding the borders. The enemy quickly reveals that they had an accomplice. They don't know anything beyond that. Haruto figures that whoever this individual is, they have more influence than his father has if they are capable of pulling such a thing off. He starts to wonder if someone in the kingdom is after Gold's life. The enemy pleads for mercy since they have told him everything and promised to call off the operation. Haruto thanks them for their cooperation, which put a smile on their faces thinking they're going to be spared. But their faces quickly turn to WTF when the boy orders Flay to burn down the entire fort to the ground. Haruto doesn't plan to show mercy to those that ambushed his father despite their pleas. Flay executes the order and the two walk away with the fort burning as the enemy's screams can be heard. Haruto isn't too well versed in the political landscape and the conflict between nations, but he will not show mercy to their foes. For now, he intends to send his dad an anonymous letter explaining what has transpired. Sure enough, Gold receives the letter and his men have confirmed that the thieves have been eradicated from the fort. They are not sure how many escaped, but reports from the bandits they captured can attest that the fort is destroyed. Gold wonders how the border garrison allowed such a thing to happen, so he orders them to be fully investigated. Based on his clash with them, he figured that they were no ordinary thieves, but he never imagined that they were agents of the Empire. He had some other fears, and it seems like it is finally coming to pass. Char was sitting with her father the entire time and is curious to know who dealt with the bad guys. Based on the efficiency, lack of compassion, and command over fire displayed, he figures that it must be Flay. Gold admits that her strength surpasses his own and points out that she roams the province to establish dominance over the monsters around her, so she must have attacked the fort during one of those outings. After hearing this, Char rushes out from her father's office to go somewhere. He warns her to be careful and to go with an escort. As she tiptoes through the corridors, she wonders who her older brother is. The girl goes to Flay and asks her if there are two Harutos. Flay is confused by her statement and suspects that she might have hit her head. Char confesses that the previous night, she saw someone that looked like Haruto flying, and from what she knows, he shouldn't have enough mana to fly. So she checked his room only to find him sound asleep, but she didn't feel his usual scary aura coming from him. She wonders what all of this could mean. Flay is surprised to hear that she can sense Haruto's power and explains that it is his extraordinary mana which he was blessed with from infancy. It is so vast that it far exceeds human limits to the point that a demon like her can't hope to surpass him. From the way she talks about him, Char figures that she knows Haruto's real identity. Flay still thinks that he's the demon lord, but keeps tight-lipped, telling the little girl that she can't reveal his true identity. Flay later reports this to Haruto, who's a little inconvenienced that his little sister caught them leading the previous night and found out about his clone. He decides to set surveillance barriers on his little sister and programs them to ring an alarm based on her location and what she's doing. Flay wants to know why he has a clone, but he refuses to tell her. Later that night, Haruto pretends to sleepwalk and catches his sister following him, but she escapes before he can confront her. Over the coming days, he notices that she's spying on him while he gets on with his day-to-day activities. The spying ends when Gold reveals that his wife and daughter are going to represent him on a trip. With the current events, his attention is required at the border. Haruto suggests that Flay follow along. His mother states that she hasn't seen her around, so she thought that Haruto sent her on an errand. He remembers that he asked Flay to intimidate the monster in the area so that they don't attack the towns and villages. He looks over to his sister, who glares at him, which hurts his feelings a teeny tiny bit. His mother and sister eventually leave for their trip, but one evening, the alarm he put on his sister wakes him up from his nap. He checks only to find that their carriage is being attacked by Imperial soldiers. His mother quickly tries to escape, but the soldiers fire spells. Mum Bear is no slouch and blocks their attacks, but one slips through and injures her leg. Haruto uses his surveillance barrier to direct his sister to safety. She passes his information to her mother, who immediately notices that someone is helping them. They jump off a cliff, but the mother uses her magic to break the fall. The two proceed into a cave that has luminous moss. When they get deep enough, the mother leaves Char to go and find the person who was giving them the direction. She calls this person a hero of justice who punishes evildoers. She runs out of the cave only to realize that that person used illusionary magic to cover the entrance of the cave. The mother notes that that is very advanced magic. Her awe is interrupted when the soldiers find her. She turns the knife on herself, knowing that they need her alive. The blade shatters just as she's about to end things. Haruto was the one that shattered it. He flew to their location at top speed, and his anger is palpable when he blasts the soldiers back with a barrier attack. He makes his way back into the cave with his unconscious mother and informs Char that they are safe while he tries to act like an anonymous person. But his sister knows it's him from his aura. She gathers some courage and turns to call her brother for the first time. Haruto responds, since this is not a normal occurrence. She asks him if he's a hero of justice. This confuses him, but he decides to play along just like he did for Flay when she called him the Demon King. Char is happy to hear that he uses his powers to deal with the bad guys just like her mother explained. Haruto just continues to agree with her. She comes closer to him and states that she was wrong about him this whole time. He pleads with her to keep this a secret as no one can know his identity. She understands, stating that it means she will have to lie to their mother and father. This makes Haruto feel a little guilty. He gets back to the matter at hand, informing his little sister to stay inside while he takes care of the attackers outside. After dealing with the situation, he rushes back to the castle. He later sits with his father when they receive word that his mother and sister escaped the attackers and are safe. Flay has joined the two and has escorted them to their destination. The reports also state that a few bodyguards were injured during the altercation but were spontaneously healed once again. Gold expresses his wish to thank the person that saved them, but he can see that this person doesn't want to be identified. He turns to Haruto to hear his thoughts on the matter. The boy just states that he's sure that this person will stay on their side as long as they stay good. Gold reveals that Char called him the hero of justice. They will just patiently wait for the day they finally meet him. Haruto comments that even if more Imperial soldiers pretend to be thieves and attack, this hero will save them. That remark surprises Gold because that part of the narrative is not public knowledge. He manages to explain it away like speculation, but it gets his dad thinking about other aspects of this current attack, which indicates that these new soldiers infiltrated before the recent tightening of the borders. Gold feels like Shrewd Vixen has something to do with this. Haruto makes a note of that name. Their attention is drawn when Char busts in to announce their arrival. Gold rushes and hugs them, happy to see them safe. Everyone is surprised to see that Char has warmed up to Haruto. When she hugs him, she informs them that things changed. Flay starts to get salty and asks her to get off him. That brings the episode to an end.